people to do when it comes to leadership and really getting involved in the changes in the system. And like I said, there's evidence. Advantages for that, but like I said, you could fail here, you could fail here, you could fail here, 3 different situations, and you just fail your He's the main leader for everything, not just health. Yeah? And he had a mandate, and his H is for healthcare. Can somebody tell me 1 or 2 things under that H? Healthcare. What did he say? What's in it? Come on, you're leaders, you're supposed to have a shared vision. With 80% of what you're doing, your work, is actually determined by 20% of the people, not every single person. And that's so transformational leadership apparently is what is good in healthcare, and I think it is, because another thing it does, transformational leaders tend not to lose staff. They tend, so if you're an effective leader, your staff burnout should be 0 really. Your outcomes should be more positive than negative, and there should be less complaints in your unit. Sorry. Collaborate. Multiple groups are encouraged in collaborative leadership. Multiple groups are encouraged to work together towards the implementation of effective practices and processes. This causes a synergized effect in ensuring positive outcomes bigger than an individual effort. So you're the MD or you're the head of department, you want to introduce change. You sit down with your group. They've got to understand, 1, why the change. And they've got to buy it before you even move into this is how we're going to do it. Now sometimes, you know, when people are not in management, it's so easy to criticize leadership. Very easy. Oh gosh, very easy. Don't mind them. And it's always them and us, right? Until they get into that position. And it's like, wow, I didn't realize it was this bad. This is the hot seat. Big time. We hired one of the former union members of Medical Guild to go to one of the hospitals. And I remember I was saying to him, I said, and he was a tough one. And I said, it's good. Welcome. Now, and I'm telling you, he said, wow. Because you see it from one side, you don't see it from another side, and then you find out that you have to collaborate. It's all about collaboration and letting people buy into what you're selling to them, and then listening to them and say, okay, so how do we throw it back at them? How do we do this? So the pharmacist is on your board, on your team. You're the MD, you're the doctor. The discussion is not even about clinic. Nobody, the thing about medicine and doctors is that nobody is questioning whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a OBGYN doctor or anything. Nobody's questioning your skills and that. I'm a nurse. You're not questioning me about anything in nursing, because I know about nursing more than you do. But I don't know anything about medicine per se, as in you went to school to diagnose and treat and all that. And I respect you for that. All right, so in the US, I'm a cancer nurse specialist. That's my area. And I have a big passion for it. And on our ward rounds, we have the attending, who's the consultant, head of the team, head of the clinical team. Yeah. There's a PharmD, clinical pharmacist, we call them. There's me, maybe it's my patient, or if I'm in charge of the ward and I need to know what's going on. And we have what we call sit-down rounds. Sometimes we have a social worker. So we have what we call sit-down rounds before we do the walk-around rounds. And I'm telling you, so we're talking about a patient that is mine. When I say mine, I'm the one looking after that patient. So the physician is ready to discharge the patient, or thinks the patient is ready for discharge. He's going to ask every single person's opinion. And it always usually ends with the nurse in terms of we've given all the treatment, the patient has finished chemo, they're no longer neutropenic, they're doing well, they're walking around, maybe their platelets are a bit there. So, Kemi, what do you think? She had a good night. There was no fever, no complaints. I spoke to the daughter yesterday and they're looking forward, and the patient wants to leave. So I think we're good to go. But maybe I has to ensure that everything is okay and collaborates with all the players within that multidisciplinary team. There is a need to raise levels of motivation and nurture interdependency between different healthcare, and that's what we were talking about. So for us in Nigeria, I've seen it, I see it, and it's such a shame. So the doctors, you come in, you do your ward round, you leave, pharmacy comes, checks some things, and then pharmacy opens her mouth in front of the patient and says, he didn't tell me this, you can't take this. Then the nurse comes and says, oh, what did the doctor say? The doctor said blah, blah, blah. The doctor didn't tell me that. So there's a disjointed, the patient is like, you're not all working in the same hospital. You're all here. Can't you talk? Can't you be together? It's all about me, the patient. So good leader, good HOD, going on your rounds with all your medical students coming behind you, whatever, should come onto a ward and say, because you need that collaboration to make your decision. You can't make a decision that maybe you want to write a new drug or something like that, and the patient must have, must be afebrile before you can give it. You have to ask the nurse what happened overnight. You were not there, so how do you know? There's no point in relying just on records that they've written, because by the time we go electronic, then you're going to go into your computers. Might as well just talk in front of the patient, let the patient hear what you're saying about that patient. And this is good. When it works really, really well. That's the kind of leader that you should be. So, right along. Okay. So what makes a good leader? What are the characteristics? This is where we're now talking leadership. Just think about yourself, because we're all different. Over the years I've had to learn. I never used to really listen well. I never used to, as soon as somebody's saying something, before they even say C, I've already said, because I'm already thinking of what I'm going to say from the first sentence that he said, so I missed out. So I had to learn the listening skills. I had to learn that leadership is not necessarily natural. Not necessarily, it's learned. It's training.
Bend down. And
that is why I always believe, and I said it to Dr. Idris, I kept on saying it. I said, I know I'm not changing the model. I'm not saying doctors should not be the leaders of hospitals or whatever. I'm just saying they need to go for leadership training. I'm telling you, it will only make you better. A lot of our doctors, a lot of our ladies go on training on their own. You don't have to wait for the government to send you on training. Now people are even doing it online. And it's just as good. Because it's going to teach you so much about yourself. I have learned so much about myself. So much. It's unbelievable. Because you think you're this, but you're not. And then when you learn these things, you realize, and it makes you a better leader. How many of you have said, it's the leadership. It's not good. It's not good. How do you know it's not good? Are you a leader? So what kind of leader are we? One of the first things, and there are many characteristics, by the way, soft things like, be patient and all that, but these are like the core of it. Confidence. Confidence, non-verbal. Remember we did communication yesterday? Confidence is not something you write. It's totally non-verbal. When somebody has confidence, it can be learned and it can be practiced. Set the tone right. Stand tall, maintain eye contact. I'll give you an example, 2 examples. So, yes, I do public speaking, but it wasn't always like that. It wasn't, even if I had I'm a people's person, kind of like extrovert, at the end of the day, it's still something you practice and then you get better. And then you get better. I wasn't born to be standing with a microphone. Some people say that, they're born with the gift of the gab. It's a learned practice thing. It's not for some people. Just like I'll ask a question, nobody will put up the answer, but it doesn't mean you don't know the answers. You do know the answers. You just don't want to talk. Let somebody else talk. And then sometimes you ask questions, people are waiting for the first person to down. Once somebody starts, and he's saying anything like, there's a prize, there's a this, so many hands will go up. So many hands. It's just your mood. Thank you. So somebody has motivated people to talk. Sorry. Okay. Right. So, eye contact. Let me tell you something about eye contact. It's a cultural thing. Let me tell you something. So my very first leadership interview I was in the UK then. My husband is a doctor, so we moved from UK to US and all that, so just so that you have an idea of whatever. But anyway, so I went for this interview. I've been a member of staff for about 5-6 years. Opportunity came, I interviewed, and it's always formal, very formal. HR, head of all sitting there. Sometimes the doctor is there. So I go in. I was confident. Confidence is not my issue. Okay, so I went in, quick, because I know time is going. And I sat there, answered all the questions, well prepared, knew all the answers. That I did not get the job. So I got feedback. But I'm somebody that I like feedback. Doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, just tell me so I can get better. And that's what they do. They give you feedback. So my boss said, can I have another microphone? My boss said, you need to maintain eye contact because it's if you don't maintain eye contact, there's something about it not being truthful. I guess you're right. His name is Russell. I guess you're right, Russell. But I need to tell you something, though. My culture. He learned something that day. He learned cultural competence. competent about different cultures. And he said,
okay,
I said, well, if I'm staring at you, it's rude. And the people that are interviewing me, it's so rude. It's like, that's why they're looking at the window, So I said, yeah. What? Yes, it's my culture. But guess what? I'm another culture. So I had to, and I'm in a scenario where you've got to maintain that contact. It's good they knew, but that would take that perception that you're not telling the truth. But the point is that you're still not maintaining eye contact. And maintaining eye contact is something that's very important because it does depict that you're confident. So if I'm talking to you and I'm looking at you, you know I'm looking at you. Like if I'm talking to you and I'm saying, yeah, and I still do it. I still do it, but it depends on the environment. I still do it because it's just something in me. It's something in my culture. It's something I can't help. But as soon as I know, I'm so conscious of it now when I'm talking to people who do not know the culture. I just switch back immediately and I go, and then I'm out again. But they learned cultural competency that Africans don't necessarily maintain eye contact. But however, if you're confident, you stand tall when you're talking to somebody. Now, confidence is not... No! That's not the kind of non-verbal I'm talking about. I'm talking about being confident and walking smartly and saying, here I am, I know what I'm talking about, and all that. That is confidence. You carry yourself, you talk, because that confidence is so important because your followers recognize it. If you call somebody into your office, and there are many managers and leaders like that, I'm so sorry to say. You call somebody in your office and you're afraid to talk to them. But you're calling them to the office because you're the leader, or you have to call them into your office. So you're already nervous because you're afraid. I have apex nurses that are afraid to talk to their nurses. Am I lying? You know what they say? At least one of them say, come and shout for those people. They're wicked. Wicked about what? You don't know. They're witches. They're evil because they're funny. You're the leader. What are you afraid for? So I throw it as well. I just said, are you not a Christian? Let us go there. Are you not a Christian? Don't wear fashion like this, you will prosper. They can't do anything to you. How many people have died? How many have they done? You don't know. But guess what? You become an ineffective leader if you're going to keep on thinking like that, because all the other people see the bad behavior you're condoning. So then they don't respect you. They say, and then they're not afraid of you. That's why people can do things and get away with it. Just like that. You're not confident, even at PMBs. Some of you heads of departments, MDs, I'll go into that later. We'll talk about that one later as we're going. I don't want to go ahead of myself. So people feel inspired when somebody is confident, when there's a confident leader. Honesty. This is huge. People look at your honesty and code of ethics to set their own. To set their own. Let people know your expectations. Give honest feedback in a direct and compassionate way. We're still talking about the same thing. Don't be afraid. If somebody is not doing well and you're giving them an assessment, say it truthfully, but in a tactful, compassionate. There's always a way to talk. You can say anything to anybody. It's the way you say it that matters. Your words matter, but it's the way you say it. So if somebody is misbehaving, it doesn't matter if it's a doctor, it doesn't matter if it's a nurse, it doesn't matter if it's a consultant. You just let them know. MDs are afraid to talk to the consultants. They tell us the consultant is not giving them the most problems. Then tell them. But in a tactful, compassionate way, tell them. It's very, very important. Because if you're honest, they'll say, nice, very good leader, very good doctor, very good apex nurse. Tells you as it is. But you will not be offended. So you can tell me anything. It's the way you say it, so you don't yell at people. And then your expectation is that I want you to be honest. If it's your department of accounts or whatever, so many things happen in the hospital. And people just take their eyes and it's the culture and they'll kill you or whatever. They're taking 200 from a patient when you're not supposed to. The doctor knows about it or the apex knows about it and then they take drug. But that means you're also not honest. So that person knows that you know, but you're not doing anything about it. So we're in the same boat. Let's carry on. It's wrong. And honesty always pays. When they know you're honest, then they won't do things that are dishonest. Effective communication, I'm not going to go too much into that because we had a whole session on that. Very, very, very important. Humility. Humility. You know when, I'm sure you said, oh, I love that guy, that woman or that man, so humble. What does that mean? What does it mean? I want somebody to actually tell me I'm going to learn something today. What does that person is very humble mean? Respectful. What do you understand by being humble? You say confident humble. What does that mean?
The leader is respectful and knows our onions.
Okay.
The leader is polite and respectful.
Okay.
Thank you. I would also see it as the leader is not letting the office get to him or her and is very, very accessible.
How does it get to him or her?
Most times you find out that if you're a leader, most people expect that everybody will be working on their heads for them. More like when they say jump, then you have to say how high. But that's the truth. But then when you're a leader, I see you as someone that is there to serve. The leader is a servant. You are going to motivate, you are going to inspire. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. That's why I said people say, very humble. Oh, yes. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. I think humility has to do with when you somebody's portfolio and they don't behave the way they should with that portfolio. In a way.
That could be the other way around and be bad as well. So if you audit somebody's portfolio and they say that they're this and that and then they don't do it, then they're not what they say they are. You can comment. Let me just go through. So humility makes you approachable. What you're trying to say is that you're not so up there, proud, but it doesn't mean you're a doormat. Because some people, let me tell you, that's why I asked what you mean by humility. Some people, leaders, is like they just do whatever they like. They enter, he's very humble. No, you're rude. That means you treat that leader anyhow. But a leader, even if you're wrong or you know your weaknesses, you're still confident. It doesn't make you, but you let people know that I'm human too. I can make mistakes. But then you continue and you learn from mistakes. Humility, when you're humble, that person can come and people can come to talk to you and they can share, they can tell you that you have all this, you are this, you are that. But guess what? I can still talk to you. You're not looking down on me. Those are the kind of things that I was expecting. Please, let me just go on and we'll give you a chance so that I can quickly, I know, that's why I said 30 minutes is a bit, yeah. Okay, positivity energizes your followers. Boy, me, I'm positive. I don't care what's going on. I see challenges as an opportunity. If a patient complains, it's like bam, 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 bam. I'm at it. Maybe because I look after cancer patients, and I believe cancer patients just humble you like crazy because it's like, you're treating people, you're looking after people that are fighting for their lives, and you think you have issues. I mean, everybody has one issue or the other, one problem or the other. By the time you're looking after these patients, your issues are gone. So you have to stay positive for them. We drop all our issues at the door. We enter like this. This is a world full of people with leukemia, breast cancer, whatever. and you just have to be positive. So in the face of all the challenges, just staying positive, and people pull on it. So if I come, because if you see, if I come back and I'm going like this, I'm just, yeah, leadership is this, whatever, you're all gonna fall asleep immediately. But if I'm boom, 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 telling you things of interest, or telling you, or they take light and I say, hey, light, and you're just gonna go with the energy, because there's just an energy in positivity, and it helps your followers, because then they'll be happy to do and share your vision, and it reassures. Sorry, I have to go back. Oh, how do I go back? Oh, okay. And it reassures them. And they like to be around you, and like I said, it's contagious. Decisiveness. Difficult decisions have to be made. Ineffective if you don't make those decisions, and you can't keep on lingering. You have to make a decision, and it's like, come, let's have a meeting. Let's call the HM whatever meeting. And what do you think? Okay, then you go and ask the PS. Meanwhile, you haven't made the decision. Guess what? Your followers are saying, decide now, talk now. What, you are the leader, you're supposed to da 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 da. You've got to make a decision, no matter how difficult it is. Taking it back to PMBs. Sometimes, you know, when the PMB, the head of department comes, sometimes the MD comes, sometimes the apex nurse comes. This person has done one of the worst things ever. They are bad. We're not even saying necessarily that you should fire. By the time we're talking, then they start pleading and saying sorry. And we have our nurses, nurses, doctors, our staff have PhDs in begging. They know how to beg. But when they're doing the stuff, it's also, you have to make a decision. It's like, no, and you have to stick to your decision. And then as the head of department or whatever, don't condone nonsense. Don't condone, they won't make you, they're not going to say you're a good leader like that. How can somebody who's bad, really bad, maybe even did something that killed the patient and maybe has done it once or twice, tell you that you're a good leader because they're still in the system? That's not good. That's not good leadership. That person is just happy that you've kept me in the system. That doesn't make you a good leader, because all the other people that know will talk about it and say, that leader. They condone nonsense. It's people like us that work so hard that are not recognized. So you have to actually be able to make a decision right there and there. So remember, we're talking about clinical leadership, functions of clinical leadership. And I'll use this one actually, because this is simply, everything is about delivering that service so that the patient can have a positive outcome. Don't forget that's what we're saying. That we're looking at how the patient comes in from admission. By the time they leave, they're happy. Even if the outcome was not what they wanted, the experience as well was best. But however, for the purpose of these 2 days, the key is that the outcome was what you told them that they should expect. If it doesn't happen like that, and then now find out that it's because the nurse gave the wrong drug, or that the doctor did the wrong surgery. By the way, it happens abroad as well. It's not a thing, but the system is such that they will let you know. They're so transparent. This happened. Why did it happen? It must never happen again. Right now, we don't really litigate a lot. Patients don't, they know their rights. You know, we talked about patient-centered care. They know their rights, but it's coming where you will be sued. And then I know somebody's going to talk about documentation, they're going to talk about and your code of ethics. You've gone for your training. When the patient sees a doctor, you're the doctor. My life is in your hands. That's a huge responsibility. My life is in your hands because I'm sick. And then in the process, you cut off the wrong kidney, or you remove the wrong kidney, or you give the wrong injection, and then the lawyers will be talking later. They finish you. You think you're a surgeon with blah 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 experience. I have been to the Old Bailey for part of my whatever learning process, whatever. Not me sued. I just wanted to go and witness. I took a group of young kids and I sat there, and that lawyer finished the surgery. And guess what? Lawyers are so smart. Maybe that's why they're so flexible. They can work everywhere. The discussion was about. So somebody, they took their time yesterday. Don't take my time. It was about the knife. Somebody was stabbed, and they were defending the person that stabbed. Somewhere along the line, it's not the surgeon that stabbed him. Somewhere along the line, when the surgeon comes in, so how many years experience do you have? How many people have you ever treated? Like so they establish your integrity, what you are, whether you have experience. It was about a knife, whether it was jagged at one end, and he said he went in like this. They were now questioning the surgeon about what he sewed, what he sutured. By the time they finished, I'm sure that man would have said like, I have been a surgeon for blah 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 years, and one lawyer is coming to rape me up. They ripped him off, even from his surgical notes. Well, you said, because it's legal tender, your notes that you write is legal tender. What you said was blah 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 blah. That they finished them, all because the lawyer wants to get money for the client and justice as well, especially if you die, which is it's coming. We settle a lot of things. Some of you do not know that. We settle a lot of things from HSC. We have a legal team. Then we go to the legal department. Honestly, we settle things out of court. People have died. People have left things on patient. How can you leave a brand new baby? I'll give you examples. Brand new baby. Maybe about it was a neonatal. How can you leave a tourniquet? Leave it, and one nurse, two nurses, and nobody saw it, and you are documenting that. Guess what? Examine the patient from top to bottom. No, you didn't, because you'd have noticed the tourniquet. That baby lost that hand, by the way. This is in this same Lagos, in one of our secondary hospitals. Those are the kind of things we can't. We have to be professional. We have to just do things the way we're supposed to do. No cutting of corners. And as leaders, you have to ensure that you have policies in place that will guide these people, and they know about the policy. Telling us, coming to HS and saying that I did not know there was such a policy is wrong. It's not allowed. It's wrong. Can you imagine if that happened to you? I mean, it's just wrong. So I'm not going to know this medical whatever. But part of our job, your job as a leader, is delivering that service. And that includes demonstrating those personal qualities that I talked about. And it also includes about patience and being, forthcoming and all that. So there are many other things. You've got to go back and just read more about the qualities and look at what you have, look at the areas you're lacking where you have to improve yourself. And then working with others, very, very important. There's no island. You cannot do it without the nurses, you cannot do it without the doctors, you cannot do it without the pharmacists, you can't even do it without the cleaners. So we're all a team, one with one aim, to deliver that service and make sure the service is good. Managing services, improving services, and setting the direction, and that's through your policies and all that. So the bottom line, you must have a clear, shared vision with those you lead. So when you go back now, if you have a group of people, whether it's doctors or the nurses, when you have your meetings, just say, where are we heading? Do we have the same? You're all change agents, by the way. You're change agents. So the changes come, you have to buy into it. That's the thing about leadership and management. So if, for example, head of department or whatever, and then it comes from I'm a PS, and the HOS says this, whether I agree with it or not, I have to do it. But you can't do that, which is how that autocratic, they brought it from the top. You have to do it. Now, how do we do it is where you now call your people and say, let's do it this way. What do you think? What do you think? And then you now come together. Do you know your staff will be so... Have you ever been part of somewhere someone says, tell me? When they say team tag, committee, and then you feel proud, you feel good, you feel motivated that, let them call me again. I'd like to be part of it. It's not all about money. but your own vision, good, I was able to go on the table and say that, and they took my idea. I love it here. I love it here. That's how people relate. Fair and balanced decisions. Don't be unfair. Don't be unfair because you like this one, that's your favorite person, and then you treat the other people like crap. They notice it. Emotional intelligence. That's a totally big topic on its own. In other words, check your emotions. No screaming and yelling, no having tantrums. Leaders do have tantrums. Get out of my office. What kind of nonsense is this? And then the person goes and says, yeah, did she wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Must have fought with his wife or her husband. They must have had a fight at home. You shouldn't bring that in when you're talking to your people or having discussions with them. Use your leadership style to motivate and inspire your followers. Happy, motivated, understood, inspired followers will perform at their best. There will be less errors, no malpractice, no complaints, and more patient, focused care. Finito. Thank you. Thank you. So I wish you all the best. Look at that. We didn't start on time. Thank you so much. So, any questions? Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, sorry about that.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Not really a question. I was just going to pass a comment on the humility aspect. When I was in the medical school, I used to have a lecturer. Run an exam. After warning everybody, no cheating, no looking at anything. So if you make a mistake, we just come to you. Excuse me, I saw you do something wrong. Can I please deduct 5 from the mass? And there's nothing you will do. The man will remove it. Or we say it with humility. Can I please deduct 5 from your mass? There's nothing you will say to this man. You will remove that bag and you will say sorry.
That is not humility. That is like telling you as it is in a nice way that please can I demote you? Please, yeah, really demote. Thank you.
You have actually benefited from this lecture. I've gained a lot and we continue to apply this at our various ways of work. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. I always love listening to you. I have actually attended a leadership training in which the instructor mentioned somebody, Hitler and Chairman Mao as very good leaders, and I was highly confounded. I was confounded because he claimed that the people they led followed him in spite of the fact that they were doing the wrong things. So, who is actually a good leader? Is it somebody that people follow to do wrong things? Are they good leaders?
So who determines what's wrong? How do you know the things are? Is Trump a good leader?
I think the Americans love him. Yes.
Okay, they love him. They love him. But look at the Americans that you say love him. There's something, I mean, that's my own personal opinion. Some people may like Trump or whatever, but he's not doing the right thing when you talk about COVID. No, I'm giving an example. People are following, they even beat people up. They beat people up who are wearing the masks. Can you imagine that happening in Nigeria? And no leader saying anything about it and encouraging it. So it depends. Remember what I said. Honesty. He had COVID. He got the drugs that nobody has ever gotten before. Combination. They pulled something out for him. He's the president of the United States, for crying out loud. So for him it's different, and he survived it. People, over 200,000 people have not. Don't get me started on Trump. Let us ask for that point. Don't get me started on Trump. So Stalin, all those people that died with all those Hitler. Look at what Hitler did. Hitler gassed people. He gassed people. So people who agree with that are just as bad as it. What has shown up in America is that there's racism. It's as simple as that. More than we fought. We fought during the slave trade, slavery, and all this anti-black people. They thought they had finished. I lived in America. I can tell you, I used to call it hidden racism. It's hidden. It's hidden. There's some people that didn't like me, and I'm a very nice person. I'm always smiling. And some people didn't like me. And who didn't like me? In fact, not just me. They didn't like the Africans. We're hardworking. We're intelligent, and they feel that we should keep quiet. And someone like me, I can't keep quiet. So to them, in fact, the day I won the first ever Transformational Leadership Award, I was told, somebody said, "How on earth did she get that?" And somebody said, "Well, you voted for her." Because it was a vote thing, it was like nominate or something. So people were like, what did they like? What did they like? Because I was like, if I was white, they would have been hitting me like crazy, but they didn't. But I knew, and I learned from another black person. Just so that you should, my leader, my second manager used to go and complain. So she was black, the only black director that was up there. I was a unit director. She was the director of all those services. And all that. So I used to go and complain to her. And you know what she said? She said, "Kerry," she was a black American. She said, "You're showing your toes." So I looked at her and said, "Yeah, I'm where I am because I had to be one step ahead. You think I don't see what they do? But I keep my toes in, so they're not going to step on me." Remove the noise. Just stay focused. A leader has to stay focused as well, so that you're not having distractions. Negativity will come all the time, but just stay focused and continue to make sure you do what you're doing. So I'm not a perfect person, but I make sure clinically they will never say I didn't do something right for my patient. So I had to pay that. They say, you can complain that she talks too much or she thinks whatever, but you're never going to say that I was bad to my patient. So leaders, bad leaders that we say are bad, and they're obviously bad, and those who follow them are just as bad. But don't forget, yes, 72 million people voted for Trump, but guess what? 77 million voted for Biden. So, and then don't forget there was a black woman on the ticket. So it's not that they were all bad, they just said, heck, I don't want a black woman on the ticket, so they will now go for Trump. So it's not that they believed his whatever. Don't get me started, he's going. He's gone. He's gone. He's gone. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for the exciting lecture. I want to ask, how do you describe yourself in terms of leadership? Is it transformational or collaborative?
That's what I just said. Both.
Now, the reason why I asked this question is this. Because even leaders that try to show that they are nice and all that, I think they don't want the transformational aspect. People are not carried along when decisions are taken.
Then they're not transformational.
For me, yes. No. Just give it that is the direction we want to go. If I listen to you, collaborative means getting everybody else together so that you all identify a common goal and you make conclusions and move towards that goal. But if a transformational leader just comes and says, for example, let's be practical, sorry, let's just say this. Okay, I want to improve healthcare services. I'm the governor. I'm going to build one MCC in local government area A. And the whole idea now is you start picking, after completing the structure, you now go from one center to another to pick members of staff here and here, where they are already not comfortable in terms of their population, where they are already working. You understand? So if avenues are not provided, people will not be able to make input. So for me, I think we should focus more on collaborative leadership. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget we have a culture, we have a system in place. So you getting this and you going for leadership training and all that, and what you've learned. You're the future. You're the ones that are going to come and do that. So the more people understand what leadership means, the more you change the system. You can't change the system. Listen, when I came about 6 years ago, trust me, I almost went back. And that is what a lot of us who have been in diaspora, when we come back, we get a lot of grief from you all that have been here. We do, big time. It's like, even me on the board, I'm telling you a fact. I was that close to leaving. But I've always said to myself that I will leave at my own term, and nobody will kick me out. And I will not join the bandwagon, because people said, look, if you can't beat them, join them. I'm actually not like that. But by the time there are more people like me who want to make positive changes, the more you kick out the ones, you'll be outnumbered. They'll be outnumbered. That's why Abbott is the last governor said, let's change our mind from fixed mindset to growth mindset, because that's the problem in civil service. It's a big problem, major. Some people are intimidated by their leaders. Some people, shake. They don't. It's whatever they say. But by the time myself and the two nurses, they picked us in different places, and we went to this huge technology thing in San Diego to choose what. Every is a big hospital, and they've totally gone. It's all paperless. It's paperless. We started. I was there when they started. So we chose 3 different systems based on our own experience in terms of consumer use or whatever. And they were already a team. And then they went pilot by pilot, but it took 2 years just to even do a hybrid. It took 2 years. It's a big project. But we were the leaders in terms of the change agents. Do you know that but never told anybody or didn't know anything, and now you can do something about it because they're your productive staff. So that transformation and collaboration, we need that here. Even if you really think about it in Nigeria, we need collaboration, big time, because everybody is important in the system. But the most important thing is, everybody has a code of ethics. If you stick to it, respect, dignity, and all that with the patients, we're going to be good. And I think I've really overdone it. So, and I know you guys want to go very, very early today, not at 6 o'clock. So, and I know you want to listen to the lawyers and the powers to be when it comes to law and all that.
Gentlemen, time is very fast spent. At this point in time, I think we should go on tea break. We have some snacks and food actually served on the corridor, but please let's make it 15 minutes so that we can come back on time and listen to the rest of the lecture, and then we can go 10 minutes. Okay, let's make it 10 minutes. He will be taking the next 2 sessions.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here. It's happy to be back into speaking engagements after COVID. We tried to use Zoom, but not as effective as having this physical engagement. So we'll be talking on existing legislations, existing medical law or health law legislations in the country. The truth of the matter is that historically the Nigerian health worker had appeared to be somewhat like a priest or a herbalist who really could do no wrong. So if something negative happens in the treatment of a patient, historically, the last person you hold accountable is the doctor or the nurse or the health worker. Rather, I would say the wife's or the husband's stepmother in the village, or the husband's first wife. Regardless of the fact that you have legislations, we just never really had, a psychiatric patient suddenly has now been able to establish a case of kidnapping that you held him or her against her will. Am I making sense? Flaws in your hospital. Call her, Mama, do my son, how are you? Fine, give her 2,000. She will confess as if I'm up to 4. So when we sue you guys, no matter how much pain your patient is in, who is this doctor? Say, it's one of our members. Okay. Please tell him to. I've gotten his money for him. Tell him to release his XYZ and her twins. But I got the balance. I kept it in my pocket. So the point by law to inform law enforcement when a young girl is sexually assaulted, I can go by law to inform when an adult female is sexually assaulted. You need to get the consent of that woman first before you inform. I give an example. The passport office is burnt. Can you still go to the airport and say, because passport office is burnt, I see the season, go to Dubai? Will they fly you? So the law says that you must have certificate of standards for all health facilities, labs, blood bank, certificate of standards. None of us have it. Patient, the law says you cannot refuse to treat, you cannot decline any patient in need of emergency treatment for whatever reason. You have a case now coming up soon, and your pack cell volume is low, and tomorrow we have to conduct a colostomy operation for you. Alright, so bye-bye. And you might be truly know, Abby. But have you communicated in the language you should understand? And you know that what happens a lot of times? Speak high phonetic English, medical legal jargons, medical. There the woman's child come, Mommy, what the doctor said, Koyemi. And the reality on ground, I also know for a fact, is that most of the time, doctors don't even give informed consent. They leave it to responsibility. They make it as if it is responsibility of the nurses. Am I wrong? Doctors hardly sit down with patients to tell them what they are about to embark on. Options available. Options. Risk involved. Cost. Deformity. Side effects. My late father-in-law fell ill and said, what are the side effects of this treatment too? Nothing much, sir. Nothing much. What is the side effect? You just lose your sexual urge. Let me die. Because the patient needs to know what you're about to embark upon. Why? So that he can make an informed lot of cases now. Patients are now suing, even after successful procedures, telling them that they did not tell me what they were going to do on me. That even documented that they had a session with the patient with respect to the procedure we are about to embark upon. Write this down. The medical note will say, if it's not treating, it did not happen. If it's not in your case note, you will not do it. So inform. I hope it's getting clearer, right? Because Nigerian health worker appears to be a scammer. I mean, they're not here. Now, you know what I'm saying, so? They don't go for normal social events because of their commitment to work. Am I right or wrong? They clean their color and they see so many patients a day. Am I right or wrong? And that they need even more support hands. Am I right or wrong? They can't prove it. You see 40 patients. Look, we call them low-hanging fruits. Low-hanging fruits. I don't secure indictment because you went 2 centimeters left. I secure indictment from your poor documentations. If you put my patient into the theater, I'm able to read what we call a medical audit of your case note. I'm able to see that the last time you saw my patient, when you build him into theater at 11 a.m., the last time you saw my patient was 6 p.m. No vital signs were taken. No charts. Nothing was taken between 6 p.m. and 11 a.m. I'm able to establish culpability. Essentially meaning that you are not monitoring my client. The truth of the matter, I know that that doctor, those nurses went. What happened? So it's at times as easy as taking candy from a child. Yeah. Regulation on research and experimental garments, cloning, also prohibits commercial organ donations. You understand that a lot of negligence and recklessness. When we see recklessness, that has an ingredient of criminality. I had this doctor, this doctor. You see, to me, he still stands on record to be a major source of cases for several hospitals where I have worked for. So there's a particular before. I knew he worked for a hospital I worked for, private hospital. So he's a consultant gynecologist, always proud to wear that their tie, National Postgraduate Medical College. Going to a wedding. Oh wow! I can know that he's a consultant. So this guy was. When you have got money, he asked me, how you never get up today? But because I've mastered the art, as if your car knows where the potholes are, automatically you do. You know, but just only for him to see what to do from Boston. Hope I'm making sense. Alright, cut this please. Go east, go left. Clip this, clip that. You know? And he's instructing me from Boston, she's in Boston. So I've been doing telemedicine. The point you have legally is that when you give instructions like that, well, first of all, what the law expects you to do is that before you can diagnose and recommend any kind of treatment, the law expects you to touch the patient, observe the patient. So you might not be effectively able to give certain diagnoses on the phone. I've been told that heart attack and peptic ulcer at times have the same. Am I right or wrong? You know, so there might be instances where, even though you are giving your advice, finish it, but it is best for you to go to the hospital. Am I making sense? Round it up with, it is best for you to go to the hospital. And I laugh. Do you know why I'm laughing? Nigerian patients, we need to realize that an average patient can ruin your life. I'm not exaggerating. An average patient. My God, they will totally forget all you have done. Have you not seen it happen? Patient that has been so respectful, so cordial, so nice, Abi. Let them see Bill. The way they'll do 360 degrees. What did he do? I have an example. When my father died about 20 years ago, can't forget this. Same similar thing happened. Died on the bed. Then I medical center. She started crying. I was crying. Suddenly enters one man. Patients hardly sue. Their relatives that sue. Patients are usually dead or managing their poor health. It is that wife that ran from the X-ray lab on time. Am I right or wrong? The never will not die. Last have a case now, very funny case. This couldn't even afford blood for his wife's CS. Doctors have to raise money among themselves. Could you afford some medications? They tried for her. To do our, where you have turned the church into a parish, you begin to do what? You begin to guarantee success. Don't worry, you will deliver like the Hebrew woman. As the leaf falls off the tree without cutting the tree, this child will come off you without cesarean section. Am I right or wrong? So when it gets to the point whereby you now need to have certain procedures done, then they can't marry the fact that your guarantees are not the same with what is obtainable. Hello? Hello? No. I'm doing all at the same time. I'm not stopping.
Oh, okay.
So where are we? See, this is negligence. Where are we?
Just a brief interruption while we try to figure that out. Please, can Mrs. Jane Ijoma Ezemba go to the front desk?
Okay.
There's a lost and found purse.
Look, yes,
If you lost your purse, Mrs. Jane Ezemba, please, it's at the front desk downstairs. You can ask for Mr. Tony. He has it. Thank you.
So, part of the challenges we have with telemedicine is that how do you create, like I said earlier, how do you create a doctor-patient relationship on the phone? You know, at times it's difficult for you to. There are bloodlines. The issue of jurisdiction, I said earlier that she could be my boss and she's in Boston, right? And she's supervising an operation I'm doing in Lagos. Am I right or wrong? But the question is, the person who is supervising my procedure in Boston, is she licensed to practice medicine in Nigeria? So that the challenges we have with telemedicine. A lot of Indians are brought up here where you can actually consult with them online. The question is jurisdiction. Are they licensed to practice medicine where you are? You know? Lack of physical examination, verify the identity of the patient, privacy. Now the issue of anything online, you know, is very difficult to safeguard. Am I right or wrong? I mean, people can always hack, you know, so that's a major challenge. Power failure. Oh, you can imagine you having a telementoring session where you're having an operation done and then the network is doing, you know, how can you effectively communicate? You know, so that's an issue. As I employ technology, there are no laws as well. What we try to do is just to borrow laws from here and there, but there are no laws. But it's imperative for us to have laws. To find so many unethical things happening in that space. One of the new trends in ERT now is Lagos big girls who don't want to have black children, so that the wives or the big men they are following don't go after them. Have started importing white sperm to the country for them to do IVF on and for them to deliver. So when you deliver and take that one, you just use this one, use those ones, the sperm of another man. Now, this couple came from UK to do IVF in Lagos. So after the child was born, connected the child for a few months, go to the UK, they went to do DNA testing. We found out that 0.0000000%. What happened? I dropped my sperm. We go and check, this doctor never even unsealed the previous sperm. So we now have Mr. A there having 4 children. Because the first wife, that's the first couple had 2 kids, twins. They had 2 kids, twins. So they, okay, sorry sir, it's yours. I only paid for. I did another case of surrogacy where the girl, they use copper. Most of the surrogates they use are used coppers because they are far from home, you know. Deliver the blind child. So the same person, the youth copper said, my balance now. If not, I'll wait on Twitter. Come now, what I do? First of all, pay that copper, let her go. Because you know they are millennials, you know, they will go on Twitter now, they will blast everything up. Then the man said, okay, I did not pay for a blind child, as if you bought a tire and it's leaked. No, this is a child, you cannot guarantee. Alright, we promise you another one. Yes. So what do we do with this one? And an adoption agency. So my point is that because there are no legislations, do you understand? There are no legislations. So you find out a lot of times, you know, the couple came from the east. When the girl here for IVF, she delivered, and they took the child back to the east, hometown in Elisha. What did they have said? It was a commercial transaction. How are you sure that the people that even pay for that IVF don't need human parts for their child at home? How are you sure they don't need bone marrow or a heart or a kidney? Am I making sense? Yes. They have a child that has kidney problem. Why don't they just pay a surrogate to happily deliver so that I can quickly have? You get my point? Yes. But there are no legislations. What stops a surrogate that you have paid money to deliver a child for you? Am I making sense? That's why we need laws. Euthanasia is a crime in Nigeria, so I don't need to emphasize on it. You cannot fast track, accelerate death. Well, it's a bit laughable because at the same time, the Nigerian Supreme Court has said that a patient can refuse medical treatment, even though that can lead to his or her death. Then let us now look at let us look at the definition of passive euthanasia. When you refuse treatment. So somehow the Nigerian Supreme Court has, in a very subtle manner, allowed what I call passive euthanasia, where a patient, an adult patient with his mental capacity intact, can tell you, I'm refusing medical treatment, even if he or she knows that it will lead to her death. High levels of morphine, truly you know that the higher the morphine, the shorter the life. But you are only after what? Quality of life. Hope I'm making sense. So even though we say we don't know, we don't do it, we don't have mass sedation now. We bombard the patient with so much morphines and painkillers, right? All indices about human life is no longer existing. But because one Oyinbo man has done what is called a ventilator, right? You plug his kidney to the socket, you plug his liver to the roof. You know, so surrogacy, I said, no legislations on that. Cosmetic surgery, there's a misconception too. Hey, cosmetic surgery is illegal. Why do you cosmetic surgery? Cosmetic surgery is what we call a deceptively invasive procedure. So it looks very simple, and any doctor can actually do cosmetic. We don't have legislations on this, so we find that there are controversies about that as well. Mental health, no laws on mental health aside from the 1958 law because the Lunacy Act, and that itself is an oxymoron. So you mean anybody that has bipolar disorder is a lunatic, So we need to, and even those that gave us the law have amended their laws. Am I right or wrong? Yesterday, Commissioner was talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, right? For those recovering from COVID-19, it doesn't add up. I will go to the second topic immediately. I amended the topic I was given. I was given that litigation as the panacea for medical negligence. I now asked rather that is litigation the panacea for medical negligence of practice.
Service, can I quickly interrupt? I think I would suggest that we write down our questions that we have from the first presentation, just so we don't forget what we want, the comments or questions we want to ask or make. Thank you.
So I asked a question that is litigation the panacea for medical negligence or medical practice. Right now, there's currently a whirlwind of litigation. Find a lot of cases in Nigeria. So when his brother had the same thing, we learned from our own experience. We took him to India. Totally different set of people. My clients, the hospitals that have, these are boys that run for masters in Scotland. They've gone to London, America. They've seen NHS work. They talk down at you because they have seen better facilities. They ask questions. They are recording conversations. Yeah, all those ones. They are seeing as if you are. For those ones that have gone abroad, a high sense of entitlement, superiority complex, they're talking down at you. But they're the ones that will put nose up. They're the ones that are arrogant people, They're the ones that pecuniary considerations. Oh, I'll share an experience. Very important. You see? Rather. I bring the right leg out. I bring my chisel and my hammer. And I cut the right leg. Right? So in such instance, negligence, Abi. Take the medical council, suspend me, or even revoke my license. The Ministry of Justice will say this is recklessness as a taint of criminality. Then they begin to charge me to court. Then the patient sues me for medical negligence. 100 million naira. So let's say I work for lawsuits again. Those of us now start a panel of one case, 5 or 6 various levels, and double jeopardy does not exist. So when I say if I defend you, you pay my children's school fees for 5 years. Hope I'm getting it now. Hope I'm getting it now. Because as I did medical council, we are going to DPP's office, Minister of Justice. As I live in there, High Court, Lagos State Judicial Division. Live there. Last the panel of inquiry. One case. I want you to understand that. So the moment you get that, people don't have a graphical experience. So I just become, after your tithe in church, it's me. After your tithe, it's me. I'm not complaining. Dr. Mokoma, this is a very funny case. This is the head of nephrology in Port Harcourt Teaching Hospital. Came to the medical tribunal. I don't need a lawyer. I can defend myself. I've been a doctor for 27 years. I never saw that patient. I never touched that patient. How can I be negligent for the patient that I never touched? Refer him to section 28 of the code, which talks about the responsible medical officer. The moment you have supervisory powers over anybody, you are responsible for their actions, inactions, omissions, or commissions. Am I making sense, please? Am I making sense, please? The moment you have supervisory role over anybody in the health sector, you are responsible for their errors, omissions, or commissions. The thinking of the law is that it is either you teaching such individual the negligence, or you are so negligent on your own part that you can't identify negligence when you see it. The responsible medical officer. I give an example. My car is outside. If my car should hit a Bentley now, my driver should bash a Bentley. What are they going to call? Thank you. Was that what I know? No, but I'm the boss. Same thing with you. As long as you are the boss, you will have to call the guy. Consultant, you are the responsible medical officer. Ozegbe, this particular case is very prevalent amongst male nurses who try to pass themselves on as doctors. This particular guy, the man had a lump in his armpit. He decided to, on his own, try to excise the lump, and the patient bled to death. He did that while trying to impress the man's daughters. we are calling him doctor. You know that thing is very funny. My driver, one day, we are just driving. I just said, the Lord. My Lord just said, hey, Ramoni. Are you? The Lord, hey, Ramoni. I said, I'm sure you guys have seen it too. You know, somebody working in your hospital, maybe he's even cutting grass there. You see, entering the world, he's saying, the developing works, you know. You know, so those happen. So this particular guy passed himself out as a doctor. Dr. Kintade's case carried out a major operation on a 65-year-old patient without testing the patient for diabetes. The patient developed post-operation complications arising from diabetes status and died shortly afterwards. The doctor was suspended. Now, in this particular case, you see, I said something earlier, if it is not written, it didn't happen. If you don't find it in the case note, they assume you didn't do it. So now, how do you know, okay, let me give you a secret. Anybody that you know that is a lawyer or a judge, they have one genetic deformity. They are very poor in physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. So it's a genetic deformity. So how do you find that? Lawyers, judges. So how do you marry the fact that such a person who can't do quadratic equation, who can't do Pythagoras theory, who did not read Ababio, did not read all this, so was reading Shakespeare and you not say, I put it to you. You are negligent. How can that person put it to you? If all other documents they are relatively fake, the authentic document was signed by Dr. Lushala. So I always advise health workers to be very careful. Okay, imagine this. They are now knock your door and say, my son has been posted to Zambisa Forest for NYSC. I need you to give a medical report that is not true. And you're going house rent. Find yourself in a dilemma. So they found, aside from an obvious mental issue, they found him as an easy conduit of infection. You keep touching women with ungloved fingers. It's very probable that you will. This happened in Uroha, I think. Case of Dr. Adebayo, a consultant has an obligation to personally listen. We always say it's only a badly managed malpractice case that we get to court. Medical malpractice cases should end at the doorstep into the courtroom. That goes to the issue of insurance, professional indemnity insurance. You're driving a Prado Jeep Bentley and you have third party insurance and they are robbing in front. You want to find the way of driving yourself out of that wahala. If you're driving a Bentley, I have comprehensive insurance. You just get that from your car now, have you? The ability to settle claims is what protects you on unreasonable, lengthy, torturous case, experiences in cases. Therefore, the distinction of being one of developing medical law cases is beneficent, where you can list out what we call an arbitration clause. Further, in creating a medical legal environment. Medical legal environment means having a non-disclosure agreement with all your staff. Whatever I see, read, or do in the course of my work, I should not disclose to a third party. So I will end with the conclusion that I must thank the Office of the Speaker for having this great initiative, encouraging continued professional development for health workers. Really,
Thank you very much, sir, for that wonderful presentation. I want to believe that we enjoyed every bit of these 2 lectures. We want to take questions, but I would first like to respond by our online participants, which after this, then we will take those ones from our physical
money, such that they will attend to patients without deposit. I think that has already been settled by certain legislations, some of which have said that patients in need of emergency care should be attended to. Also, the code of medical ethics also talks about the fact that you shouldn't withhold payment in lieu of treatment. I understand that at the same on the other breath, I do understand as well that you run a business. So how do you continue to provide services without being remunerated? It probably leads also in relationship. So when you're going to be the patient whom you have been managing and is not budging the payment, you keep the patient a notice that you intend to terminate that relationship. Advance notice that you terminate, particularly when the patient is not able to pay. But when the patient is in need of emergency, you are obligated by law to treat. Somebody has a question on emergency again. Is it the doctor or the hospital that should treat in favor of emergency? The thinking of the law really is a patient brought into the hospital. That's why it's a patient brought in need of emergency care must be attended to. But we're in a public place right now, there is no law that compels a doctor to help a patient in need of emergency outside the hospital. Ethically, he could be bound to do, but legally he can walk past. Because the moment he stops, a doctor and a person has activated the relationship. So you can imagine yourself being at the cinema or at a pub or a beer parlor. Nothing stops you. When the patient is brought to the hospital, the law expects that you must treat. Now, talking about specializing, to be a specialist before you can attend to a patient. Actually, a dentist is a doctor, isn't it? You bring a patient with a gunshot in the head. What do you expect the dentist to do really? He can't just get in and polish it. But at least do something. Do you understand? If it's to give bandage, if it's to give drip, do something. Do something good, resident technical facilities that have, or ought to have. Now, you must also be careful. The moment you have in front of your facility emergency, you have told the world that you have what it takes to treat whatever patient that comes in. All are making sense. So, and the only time you are expected to refer is when you are referring for specialized treatment. So, I think that's what it is that. Emergency and consent. There is no need for consent in situations of emergency in ideal situations. The law provides that when a situation of emergency arises, we put consent aside for the interest of the patient. So let's assume the patient is unconscious. There is a truck on the patient's leg. To save this patient, you need to amputate the leg. He's unconscious, he has no relative around. To save the patient's life, the law allows you to put consent aside because you do not have the luxury of time in such instance to obtain consent. Providers, well, I must say that most of the cases, secondly, in the management of patient, this Facebook girl that left.
Cringed because whenever I have a presentation to make before doctors who are more knowledgeable about what I want to tell them, I know I have to work extra hard. That's the first. On the 2nd of April 2020, Citizens, visitors and residents of the United Kingdom banged their pots for a few minutes and also clapped their hands for members of the That they did in appreciation for the good job health workers in the United Kingdom are doing to keep the people safe during the coronavirus pandemic. And so today, 16th November 2020, I call upon all of you to please rise. Since the government is owing some of you, since they don't want to appreciate you, I call upon you today to please appreciate yourself by clapping. Please keep clapping, keep clapping. At least for a minute. For themselves. Maybe you force the government to pay you your COVID-19 allowances. Thank you. When I was a child, my mother called me and asked me, Nekabari, who would you like to get married to? And I told my mother, I want to marry. No, being teacher. Because they always measure, if they want to cook your goosey, they will measure. And I said, who do you want me to get married to? She said, get married to a doctor, get married to a nurse, a healthcare worker. Well, my mother died before I got married. And so the pressure to get married to a healthcare worker was no longer there. But I love health. The questions you ask will now be interlapping on this. First, the duty of care is moral. Why is it moral? It is moral because as a human, God has put empathy inside of you. And the oath you took said say you will show empathy. And that's why when you are driving on the road and you see an accident victim, the first thing you say is what? Hey, yeah. It is that what? Human angle inside of what? You. That is moving you to say, hey, yeah, and say what? Sorry. Now some people say, hey, yeah, and stop. Others say, hey, yeah, and what? And drive away. Like Laudo Esquire said, you are under no obligation to assist. But the moment you decide to assist, you owe the duty of care. Second, the duty of care is what? Legal. It is legal because it has been prescribed by law. It is legal because it has been prescribed by law. And failure to obey the law, the duty of care is both what? A legal and a moral. Now, how many of you here are medical directors of your hospital? Medical directors? How many of you are director of clinical services? Now, I talk about this category of doctors because you formulate the what? The policy. Now, in your hospital, how much is the card? How much is the card? The patient's card? 500 naira. Good. Do you know all the patient needs to establish duty of care against you? 500 naira. That's all the patient needs. Now, how will this be done? All the patient needs to do is what? Photocopy that card and attach it as Exhibit 1 to the lawsuit. And with that, the patient has been able to establish that there is an existing relationship between me, the patient. Very beautiful, believe me. In fact, when they are walking on the road, you will always hear cat calls. Cat calls, yes. It turned out that he was having an eye irritation and he went to see the ophthalmologist, who failed to take adequate history. Gentlemen, note, he adequate history, did not ask probing questions, did not ask, oh, what eye have you had kind of feeling before, have you taken anything before, and she prescribed an eye drop. The young man took it, his condition got worse, and he lost his sight. He is 28 years old. Fortunately for the ophthalmologist, she got a lawyer who understood the arithmetics of settlement. The good news is, we didn't have to make him lose his license because we are Christians, we are good people. We love doctors. So all we did was, that case was eventually settled for 400 million naira. But of course, the ophthalmologist does not have that money to pay. And so we agreed to what? A staggered payment over a period of time. Thank you very much. Now, why did the courts, or why did they eventually agree to settle, even though it was settled out of court? It was because there was a duty of care that was what? Breached. And it resulted in injury to the what? Patient. The next type of damage is known as what? Punitive damages. The court awards this kind of damage to what? To punish you. Why? If the evidence shows that we are what? Wickedly reckless. Get the point. If the evidence shows that you are wickedly reckless, the court will award punitive damages against you to serve as a deterrent to others. Every other type of damage is meant to what? Restore the patient to his original what? Condition, as much as money can care for. It is only punitive damages that is what? Awarded by the court when it is shown that the action of the healthcare worker was what? Wickedly what? Reckless. Do we have wickedly reckless healthcare workers? Sadly, the answer is what? Yes. And it is always arising, like Laudo Esquire has said, from what? Pride. You want to teach me my work? You know how many years I don't do this work? Who are you to talk to me? When were you born? Please note, most of the cases. Number 2, how did you assess the patient? Incorrect diagnosis. Failure to see your patient as at the time it was requires. Most consultants feel that they are big boys. And so you just stroll in when you like and stroll out when you like. And I can say again that some of the money we've been able to make has been from what? From rich consultants. Please note. One big medical director in Abuja was saying, Barrister, I never saw this patient. Lalu, you also said it now. I never saw this patient. And I said, sir, what do you want us to do? He said, what you are going to do is this. You. I want you to be the one to defend me. Get another person to defend my hospital. You get it? I said, why, sir? He said, Barrister, any amount I will pay. I believe that if you defend me, I'm going to win this case. I said, Well, we decided to look at it again. What are we going to do? The evidence was too clear. The evidence was too clear. And so we went to visit them again. And we reminded them that both the Holy Prophets, Jesus Christ, and all his followers, Jesus said love is the identifying mark of true Christians. That please, from the day this thing happened, this doctor has become hypertensive. Please and please, we know that this thing he has done is very bad. But please and please, let us see what we can do. That matter was eventually settled for 3 million naira. And yes, only. And the hospital is still afloat today. The point is this. 3 million naira is not chicken money. In fact, if I'm living here now and the organizers of this event decide to bless me with 3 million naira, anytime I see Dr. Femi, I'll make sure he's competent enough to go to Bolingo Hotels and Towers. Some of you are corrupt. Bolingo is the name of a hotel in Abuja. Yes, you are going to. Gentlemen, we will now discuss real-life situations. The first is the duty of compulsory emergency treatment. Lalu Esquire has spoken about it, so I'm going to skip it and talk about a real-life case that rocks Nigeria. Sometime 2018, early 2019, you heard of the youth copper, Angela Linda Igwetu, that they said was shot by the police. They took her to Gariki Hospital, Abuja. They refused to treat her and she died. Well, that was not what happened. I happened to be the lawyer for the hospital. What happened in that case? Angela Linda Igwetu was actually shot. Or they told us that she was shot. Today I tell you, Angela Igwetu was never shot. We have strong conviction that Angela Igwetu was stabbed with a spike by the gentlemen who were with her. But the claim was that she was shot. And she was brought to the hospital. I recommend to you doctors, medical directors, chief operating officers, Dr. Oluwabusayo. She is a fantastic doctor. Why do I call her fantastic? Because she saved Gariki Hospital Abuja from going down. If you watch the CCTV footage of what happened, she was on duty, contrary to what Sega, the social media influencer, said, what Bukola Saraki and the others said in Nigerian Senate. The truth was, when they brought her into the hospital, Dr. Omosuyi Oluwabusayo got up from her seat. You see the doctor was running. They did not even come to call her. She just had horn. Bang, bang, bang. She ran there. She carried this patient herself, put the patient on the stretcher, and started attending to this patient. Gariki Hospital never asked for 1 kobo from them. The electronic medical record shows that they even opened a card for her 2 hours after she was brought into the hospital. And then she died at about 6:30 a.m. It's very unfortunate she died. But then the story in the media, and people were insulting healthcare workers, and so then the wicked people, God will punish them, this one and this one. And of course, Dr. Bukola Saraki, the Senate President, then set up an inquiry. The Vice President asked the National Human Rights Commission to inquire. MDC and everybody came. I love healthcare workers. I love healthcare workers. Because when it happened, I think that's where my white hair came from. Yes, the news was hot. The government was threatening to cancel the consent of those things. Now, as a lawyer, what will I do? This guy is pulled by a van. And the next thing was a big bag. Big brown envelope. Sorry. And they took that envelope into the office of the pathologist. I went inside and I sat down. The pathologist said, "Go outside." I said, "Why?" I said, "Come on, I'm a Port boy. We are going to die here. I will not go anywhere." And then I told the doctor, I said, "Sir, this case is a case of what? National importance. I will leave your office, but I'm telling you that I'm watching you." No, I'm not putting it to him, I'm watching him. And you know the way Peter Doche rolls his eyes when he wants to run in Nigerian video. I rolled my eyes and I told him, "I'm watching you." And we left the hospital. Now, the doctor wrote an autopsy report. But because he knows the truth, he refused to sign it. The father of one of the boys is the court held that there was no urgency why the doctor needed to obtain the consent from the mother when that patient herself can sign the consent form. So you need to be circumspect when you are obtaining consent from relatives or family members. Lazo Esquires are also talking about Osanubo versus Fawaya. Now let's look at case 6. It involved Mr. Jones, who is a famous Australian football player. Lazo Esquire said this thing like a joke, but it actually happened. A famous football player broke his legs, and the bone also came out of his leg. When they did the surgery, he still felt that there was something wrong with his leg. He was admitted. While he was sleeping, some nurses went there and took pictures of him, sold the picture to media houses and made money. The next morning, in fact, he was in the room and saw himself on television. The case was taken to court, and the Australian Supreme Court held that the nurses have violated the right to consent. Now, this case is a very recent one, involving a very big doctor in Nigeria who is a billionaire, and also involving another big personality in this world. It has to do with failure of diagnosing an ectopic pregnancy. Now, this big woman, she's a worldwide personality, sent her daughter to see this gynecologist. And when they saw the gynecologist, they saw that the girl was having a feeling. I'm appealing to you, don't go abroad. Don't go abroad, don't go abroad. You can make plenty of money in this country if you do your job and do it well. Run your hospital like a business. Some of you will put your wives, because you are the better director, you put your wife as accountant. We have seen many hospitals that have been run down by women.
Amen.
Hold on. I'll tell you why you say so. Now, if this wife is a doctor, it's different. But this, now my husband own mentality, we have seen it, we know what has happened. Hospitals fail after a doctor dies. Why? Because there is no succession plan. They run like family business. Documentation. Documentation is an important component of healthcare. Documentation is very important in healthcare. As a matter of fact, under our laws today, failure to document or altering of documentation or hiding a documentation has risen to the level of a crime under the National Health Act. Before now, the highest thing they will do is to what? Take you to MDCN or take you to court. But now they will take you to MDCN, they will finish you there, they will take you to court, they will finish you, then the police will come in and charge you for a criminal offense where you will end in what? Prison. Now, let us look at it carefully. Please note, and this has been emphasized by Laudo Esquire, even if you did the best for a patient, as long as you know right time, it will not happen. Thank you. Do you know why? The first thing the court will look at to arrive at a decision is the what? Medical record. And so many doctors have been found to go and hide what? Records of what? Patients. Now please note, there is a recent trend. A patient who wants to sue you, I've seen at least 3 cases, they came to the hospital, paid the staff of the hospital who stole the file. And the following week, the patient came and wrote a letter asking for his medical record. How are you going to explain it in MDCN? How are you going to explain it before the police? They called me from Port Harcourt recently and told me of a very big militant who was shot in the groin. Before then, he was already having problems with what? Taking his girlfriend to the 10th floor of Bolingo Hotels and Towers. And as a result of that, something happened. Now, the doctor actually what? Told him that you may not be able to take the person to the 4th floor like that again, no. You get it? And also what? Documented. Do you know what happened? According to him, because he has paid hospital bill, the doctor who removed the bullet from his amudike, like some things I don't know how to say. I'm a child of God. A doctor who has what? Removed what? Something from his what? Amudike. You know the meaning, sir. Was now what? He was discharged and he came back 6 months later to say this thing, let us be. And he's what? He's threatening the doctor, he's going to put it on social media, he's going to do this, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. I called the doctor and said, okay, what do you use? Electronic medical record? No, paper file. And I called Moses there, I said, go and meet Moses. And Moses flew to Port Harcourt. Currently, Moses is working on something for them. I told him, okay, take that paper file and go and hide it under your bed. Importance of documentation. Laudo Esquire has already what? Run you through the different what? The different healthcare laws. But we are going to look briefly at the National Health Act, the MDCN Code of Ethics, and the Nursing and what does your Code of Ethics say? It shows that they will also what? Delist you. Because they cannot have what? An ex-convict amongst what? Them. However, if the judge is very strict on you, you will still go to prison for 2 years, and while you are in prison, you will still pay that to 50,000. So please, when you have a case in court, what most of you do, especially in government hospitals, is to quickly go and what? Scribble things and adjust the records. If you do that, since 2014, it is now a criminal offense. In fact, the court will examine the records. If the court see that something was being squeezed somewhere, you are in more trouble. Now, if you look at the section 28, sub 1 of the MDCN Code of Ethics, it talks about what? Infamous conduct. And one of such infamous conduct is what? Failure to what? Make proper what? Notes of practitioners' observations, prescribed treatment during such visit, or to communicate with the patient or his relation as may be necessary with regards to any development, progress, or prognosis in the patient's what? Condition. What will be the outcome? You can be what? Reprimanded, suspended for 6 months, or the registrar will be ordered to what? Strike your name off the rolls. The Nursing and Midwifery Council and the Nursing and Midwifery Act does not make special provision for this. The question again is, how will you be able to tell the consultant the patient on bed 2 had this condition, if that patient had what? High fever last night, how will you be able to remember? Because you cannot remember, you cannot give what? Proper what? Record. So nurses too owe that duty to what? Document. Unfortunately, in nearly 80% of our hospitals, nurses don't document. Yes. You know why? Do you know why? It's not because the nurses don't want to document, but because most hospitals feel that the duty of documentation is that of the what? Doctor. Beyond this issue of nurses' charts, blood pressure, weight, and all of that. In a hospital like Ariki Hospital in Abuja, Nisa Premier Hospital, Dida Hospital, space is made on the electronic medical record for nurses to make their what? Observations during ward rounds. For example, a patient will go into a doctor's office, come out, and the first thing he turns to is the what? Is the nurse. Nurse, here they pay me. You just work for doctor. Why don't tell doctor? That doctor don't know how they keep face. Does it happen? The patients are what? Scared of what? Doctors. But they always run to the what? Nurses. How many of you are nurses here? My encouragement to you is this. Please, even when the patient calls you on phone, what should you do? Document what the patient was said. Make contemporaneous notes of what happens, because it can save you a lot. Again, look at the case of Susan Meek versus Southern Baptist Hospital of Florida. The patient was admitted to the hospital for hysterectomy. She started bleeding after surgery and was admitted to the radiology unit for uterine artery embolization in an attempt to stop the bleeding. The physician told the nurses to perform frequent leg examination to mitigate the risks of diminished blood flow and nerve injury. But the patient claimed the exams were not performed. The patient suffered nerve damage. Who are medical directors, clinical directors, chief operating officers, board members of hospitals, please do not take what? Negligence as a minor issue. Because the doctor is your girlfriend, the nurse is your girlfriend, the lab attendant is your girlfriend or your brother or sister, you overlook it. If you are unfortunate to have somebody like me, the hospital will go under. I love doctors. Now, I'll give you a very recent example. A man came to the office of the medical director of one of the big hospitals in Abuja, and he said he's suspecting that one of our doctors is what? Is thorough-lying his wife. He suspects that one of the doctors is what? Thorough-lying his wife. Thorough-lying is the what? Is a verb for what? Thorough. Are you getting it? And the medical director said, sir, why are you making this kind of grievous allegation? He said, because anytime he talks in the house, the wife will say, doctor say, doctor say, doctor say. And the wife will always be what? Be defending the doctor, talking about the doctor in the house. That he wants us to call the doctor, you get it? Let the doctor look at his wife in the eyes so you observe both of them. That is the sense of this. Now, the medical director said, no, we are not going to do that. The man later brought more allegations, and we had to what? Call the gentleman. Now, on that day, the man was sitting like this. His wife was standing behind him. When the doctor came, if you see the way the man drawing wife, come here. Let me be looking at your face. Now, more leave that one. We were able to help the boy. You know, my duty is to love doctors and nurses and healthcare workers. We were able to what? Help him. But later, we found out that when the wife came for examination, the doctor called a chaperone to say, please stay here. Doctor said, patient said, no, I'm comfortable with you, doctor, I'm comfortable with you. Say, no, let the chaperone be here, man. Say, no, I'm comfortable with you. And so what happened? When the doctor had to do VAGINAL examination, and he had, what happened was, when he was doing that, and it was time to remove his hand, the woman held the hand there. What was the doctor doing? The doctor only was examining. Doctors are what? Good people. Nurses are good people. All of you in Nigeria, you are all good people. Even though the government refused to pay you well. The point is this. Did the doctor document that under VAGINAL examination, the woman refused the chaperone to be there? Did he document also that even though he was, you get it, that when he wanted to watch, the woman was held it there and asked him to continue? He did not. He did not. So how did we resolve that matter? I mainly called the man and I said, sir, the way I look at you, you are a very strong man. He said, yes. I said, do you know that if you begin waiting, you don't know if he kill you? He said, yes, my boy, I know that. I said, you're a good man. The point is this, and I'm begging you, sir. Please. This investigation you want to start, do you know where it will end? He said, no. I said, forget about this matter. Because you may not have what it takes. In case that thing you are suspecting is true. He said, come, lawyer, God will bless you, God will bless you. In fact, I'm looking for a lawyer. And his company is a very good company. You get it? Today we represent them, so I love engineers too. Dr. Oluwabusa Yomosuyi saved Gariki Hospital from going under because she documented when Dino Melaye, Senator Kogi East, you know that's how he introduces himself. I am Dino Melaye, Kogi East. When he was collecting money, doing all the nonsense he did, that doctor, that medical officer, while under pressure, she was still what? Making out time to what? Document. Please, I beg you, document. Document. What are the components of a health record? The nursing records, the progress notes, medications charts, laboratory orders and reports, vital sign observations, handover sheets. In fact, this case helped me. The nurse's documentation helped me in a recent case. How many of you know the drug called prednisolone? It's a steroid. Children can take it, isn't it? Prednisolone is what? Administered per body weight, isn't it? Thank you. Now, a patient who is weighing 137.5 kilograms, you get it? If prednisolone is administered on him per body weight, he's supposed to be taking over what? 200 and something what meals, isn't it? But the doctor who handled him said, give him what? 60 milligrams. And this is the issue where Talk came in. He ingested the 60 milligrams once. Even the person who said, wow, the 60 milligrams he ingested once is still not harmful to him because of his body weight. And one person came and told him that, no, that's an overdose. They gave you what? Overdose. And what this boy did was to what? Sue the hospital to court and sue the pharmacist. Madam said we should talk about other what? Medical workers. So we talk about doctors and nurses. We are now with the pharmacist. He sued the... Now, the moment the doctor heard that there is a letter against him, the doctor quickly what? Called the patient to start apologizing. The patient what? Recorded the call of the doctor apologizing. The next thing the doctor was resigned and ran away. And so to the patient, because the doctor has apologized, no worry, I'm not going to sue you. He then what? Sued the hospital and sued the pharmacist. I I invited him for a meeting, and I said to him, no. We tried to explain to him the composition of the drug prednisolone. We made him understand that even babies can take it. We told him it's not toxic to you. Even the 60 milligram, he claimed that he developed 15 irreversible health consequences. And he hired a very big lawyer, Wale Babalaki, SAN. And when I saw it, I said, this is the day that the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. And so I told the hospital, don't bother. Just give me money and we'll see what we can do. We went to investigate who the medical expert is bringing is. He went to bring a pharmacist as his medical expert who claimed that he's a doctor of pharmacy. You know, in Dubai there is this expert that came. I visited his expert and I told him, oh boy, I will allow you go. But if you do not, I will ask you questions you don't like. I did not threaten him. Don't call it witness intimidation. I did not threaten him. I only advised him.
Behind the scenes.
And we came to court. When he wanted to talk nonsense, I asked him, are you a doctor of pharmacy or you have BSc in pharmacy? He said he's a doctor of pharmacy. I said, this is your D-Pharm. Is it a BSc equivalent in Nigeria or not? He kept quiet. I said, no, answer the question. He was trying to rigmarole to explain because he came to court telling the court he's what a doctor of pharmacy. He's an expert. Well, we were able to prove to the court that he was just what? BSc equivalent. At the point when he was humble, he now admitted to the court that ingesting 60 milligram prednisolone once cannot cause 15 irreversible health consequences. But again, the big lawyers will still want to say they have a case, and so the case pressed on. What's the important thing? What saved us again? Documentation. The young man told the court that he came himself to take the drugs from the pharmacy. But CCTV footage and the record shows that somebody else came to take the drugs for him. So what has he done? He has lied under oath.
Let the court.
And so we try to let the court know that he's not a witness of what? Truth. As a matter of fact, I have decided not to call anybody as a witness. I want to file what is known as a non-suit. That based on the testimony of this patient, you get court, give your judgment based on it. Because there is no case to what? To answer. There are several factors that can affect or result in poor documentation. It is important that in documenting you be what? Factual, consistent, and accurate. Factual, consistent, and accurate, not emotional. I have seen a doctor who said, I don't like Yoruba people, I beg. Go to another person. The duty of a doctor is to be what? Professional. Even though the child of Osama bin Laden comes, you have to what? Treat him. Are you getting it? And those of you who hate Donald Trump, I don't like Donald Trump, but I'm happy that Donald Trump came. America and the Western powers have been what? Foisting bad leaders on Nigeria like they did to Buhari and brought Buhari for us. Let America taste bad leadership. Are you getting it? He said people should not wear masks, isn't it? When he got corona, what happened? The medication they have not given to anybody they gave him, so he will survive. But it's a good thing. We have bad leadership because, I'm sorry, I mean no insult. Plato said that when a ruler is foolish, it shows that those who elected him are more what? Foolish. Nigeria rejected a PhD holder for somebody with no YF result. Now, all of you seated here, some of you have PhDs, some of you have lots of things. Are you getting it? Yes. Most of you have all of those things, yet you will what? Go and stand on a line and what? And elect somebody who did not go to school. And you expect them to increase your salaries. Will it work? It will not work. Now the point is this, gentlemen. Common deficiencies in documentation. Please take note. Absence of clarity. You are a doctor, you are documenting. and you make what? You make sentences that are not what? Complete. You make sentences that are not what? Complete. That does not make complete sense. Or is what? Ambiguous. What will happen? People like me, when we see the what? Medical records, you know what we will do? What we will do is to what? Interpret you and what? And tear you apart when the time comes. So your documentation must be what? Clear. Avoid what? Spelling mistakes. Failure to record actions taken when a problem has been identified. Altering or attempting to alter patient's record when litigation is beckoning. What are the benefits of good documentation? Please note, a record should be made as soon as possible after the patient is seen or the procedure is what? Complete. It's important that accurate record is made in the patient's notes and should include interventions and any response to the intervention. Any response to the intervention, note it. Most times what you people record, document is what? The intervention. But what was the patient's response to the intervention? On another right. And a good lawyer will what? Will sue you successfully for failing to record the what? Response to the intervention. My friend Lalu Esquire said that you people are the what? Easiest people to what? To sue. Is it true? Not completely. To an extent, it is correct. But for me, that I've committed the next 10 years of my life to defending doctors and healthcare workers alone, my duty is to what? Is to look at it and tell you what it, no fear. And I thank God we've done that successfully for 6 years. When we said in the profile that we've handled matters successfully worth 1.3 billion naira, somebody said what? What you will not know is that medical negligence cases are coming nearly every what? Day. Sometimes your success in court is not dependent on what all the grammar the person has spoken. So for me, the first thing I do is to what? I have a long list of experts. I have over 10 cardiologists, gynecologists 20, surgeons 20. So when the case comes, what do? I will package the record and send to all of them and say, advice. Pardon? No. Every doctor who has come and stood as a witness in my cases, I pay and I pay well. You cannot win without them. Now, in the big case in Abuja, the ectopic pregnancy issue I told you about, they are bringing experts from the United Kingdom. You get it? And I'm waiting for the experts. The girl said she cannot get pregnant again. Our private investigators told us that she was in the United Kingdom recently, pregnant, and lost the pregnancy. I said, please get me the medical record that they have given me. So the question is, if you want a good lawyer, you pay good money. If you want a lawyer to do your job well, you pay. But when you say you want to do imperimpy, you don't want to pay money. When you want to do a laboro, you don't want to pay money, what happens? You will lose the case and you will pay that money. So the first question will be, I will look at the witnesses they want to bring. What's the quality of the witnesses? Now, they just brought a consultant who is 2 years old. What we did was to what? Go and bring a consultant who is what? A fellow of the Royal College. Who even supervised that consultant during her residency. Let her come and tell us how a confirmed pregnancy in the uterus arising from natural conception, in the absence of any other clinical sign, that the doctor should still go ahead and go for an ectopic pregnancy. The girl says she went to England. I'm waiting for them. They have already forgotten all their evidence, and there is no what ticket they are showing that she went to England. Yes, now let her tell us that she flew to England, and with that alone, she can lose the case because there's nothing that shows that you went to England. And so, if you want a thorough lawyer, what should you do? You pay good money. Are you getting it? So please don't be afraid to pay lawyers. Yes, especially the one that does what? medical workers. Do not be afraid to what? To pay what? Money. Don't be afraid to pay money.
But they never pay us.
Now, gentlemen, finally, everybody took my time. Well, now they are rushing me. I'll rush. Sorry. Let's go back. Where should I press? You know I'm computer illiterate. I don't offer. Now, how are you going to avoid a medical malpractice suit? How do you avoid it? Please write. Everybody write. That is why I came from Abuja to Lagos. Please write. Whether you are a doctor, nurse, lab scientist, anything you do, write. Number one. How to avoid malpractice lawsuit as a heading. Number one. Love the patients the way you love yourself. Love the patients the way you love yourself. You all love yourselves, isn't it? If you love that patient the way you love yourself, you will give the what? The best standard of what? Care. So love the patient the way you love yourself. Number two, take adequate history. Take adequate history. Take adequate history. Note, I did not say take history, I said take adequate what? History. Hyphen, ask probing questions. Ask probing questions. Number three, order the correct investigations. Order the correct investigations. Order the correct investigations. Do not overtest or expose patients to overradiation. Do not overtest or expose patients to overradiation. Gentlemen, for that, look at the case of Dr. Farid Fatah. Madam, you must have heard of him. The famous oncologist in America who made over $50 million over a 5-year period. He told patients that they had cancer when they did not. He overtreated some patients, undertreated some others, and it was a pharmacist in his hospital that blew the lead against him. Dr. Farid Fatah was sentenced to 50 years in federal prison and was asked to pay back the over $50 million to each of these patients. Well, Dr. Farid Fatah is already 54 years old, so we expect that he will die in prison. And you know, when you go to federal prison, there is no parole, especially when it's a federal offense. Madam, you have been in America now, you are the expert. Number, wait it now. 4 or 5, just the right. What was the last thing I said? Document everything. Document everything, including phone calls or emails with patients. Document everything, including phone calls and emails with patients. Results of investigations. Results of investigations. Also document procedures the patient refused, including the fact that you advised on the importance. Including the fact that you advised on the importance. The next, communicate and share information. The dedicated resource person, madam here, talks about what? Gossip among your rank and file. Please, be what? Be your brother's keeper. Do not because of what? Sabi. You go and what? Tell patients what? Things or issues. We are not saying you should condone what is bad. We are saying even if you are to report a complaint, report it to the hospital management who will handle it appropriately. Some of you will go to the bedside of patients and begin to talk. Recently in the hospital, a doctor who was not even seeing the patient came on according to him, social visits during the panel. And the one had just put to bed, and so there was a pad that was kept there. He's the chief resident, so he has told the others not to be putting pads. So the particular doctor felt there was a need to put the pad. When he came, the woman was moving like this, "Madam, what's happened?" The woman said she's feeling some pain, so the woman will just do CS. He said, "Okay, lie down, let me examine you." On social visit, he went ahead, was trying to examine the woman, removed the pad, called the doctor in presence of the woman, and was lambasting his junior. Funny enough, the woman was not following instructions. She had peripartum cardiomyopathy. That she died. The sister was now discussing the issue with her husband, with her sister's husband. And you know what the man wrote on social media? That the doctors sold the wife's you know that thing. They stitched it together with a pad. The wife was in pains. The thing developed infection. The letter came back again to restitch it. Then now plenty story. And note it, anything people say against healthcare workers, the society believes it. Are you getting it? And so I've sent the strongly worded letters to all newspapers and social media bloggers in Nigeria. If you write any nonsense against my clients, you have yourself to blame. Finally, I just want to say something. Communicate and share information. Because your colleagues you went to ask, say, this is the case with this patient, what do you think? There will be your first line of defense. They'll come to say, yes, and Dr. Obi told me about this issue, and we jointly decided that we should do this. Are you getting it? Get insurance. The next point, get insurance. Don't finish all your salary, get insurance. How many of the women here have insurance? How many of you have insurance? Including the men, sir. How many of you have insurance? Get insurance. Medical directors, clinical directors, policy formulators, please get insurance for your workers. Get insurance. Finally, get a lawyer. Get a lawyer. Get a lawyer.
For the hospital of personnel.
Now, very good question. Get a lawyer for the hospital or personally. Let me tell you, every successful billionaire have lawyers following them everywhere. Okay, lie? I had a case in Canada. You get it? A woman who ran away with her husband's children to Canada was claiming that in the school they were beating the children with 3 trunks. And so I went to the proprietor. I said, "Okay, this is what they are saying about your school. Please give me an affidavit. Let me see your school policy on discipline." Do you know that the man said he's not going to answer me until he talks to his lawyer? For 4 days we were waiting. Get a lawyer. When something happens to you, no matter how bad it is, don't have a knee-jerk reaction. No. Get a lawyer.
Don't get mad.
Get a lawyer. Don't get mad. Get a lawyer. Now, if you cannot get a lawyer, love a lawyer. It is legal. I am happy that Laolu is a very good Christian, a child of God, and myself, I was a virgin until recently. Now, gentlemen, let me end by thanking the Speaker of the House of Reps, and by thanking my elder brother and mentor, the President of the Nigerian Bar Association, who nominated me to come here. Let me also thank specially Dr. Femi and members of the organizing committee. You've been very wonderful. I have had a very fruitful stay here, and I know that today I now have over 50 new friends, especially some who like Bolingo and those who do not. Get one thing clear, and let's be clear about it. A combination of Laolu here and myself, I'm not bragging. If you pay us good money, We will not fail in our responsibility or duty to protect you. Why am I passionate about healthcare workers? It is because I know that you work under very hard conditions. Because I know that people don't appreciate you. And because my mother loves you. And as my mother's favorite child, I commit in the next 10 years to continue to defend healthcare workers. Let me also thank my beautiful wife. Let me thank my beautiful wife, who worked very hard in preparing my paper and also typing my paper. Yes, she is a lawyer, she will soon be a judge. So thank you very much. I'll take your questions now.
Thank you very much. Can we put hands together one more time? Thank you. Our time is fast spent. So quickly we'll take just 3 questions. 1, 2. We'll take 3 questions, please. Maximum of 3. 1, 2, and the last hand there. 1, 2, and 3. Question.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mrs. Watson. I want to join the league, of people to really appreciate the Speaker of the House, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, who has done it fit to bring this package together. It's really an awesome time here, very educative, very engaging, and very enriching as well. Privileged to be, asked for more, so that many other people will be captured. It's timely. It's one thing that every one of us as health worker will be yearning for. And once again, I really appreciate him. And also for people who had, brought this to be, I really appreciate them. We cannot appreciate them enough. Creative, lectures we've had since yesterday, especially today, starting going on to medical ethics, breach of duty of care, breach of care, injury, damages, and all that. And now coming to documentation. I actually had wanted to ask this question with the last speaker, but unfortunately time could not allow it. Yes, the role of documentation cannot be overemphasized. Well, there's a cliche that says, if you do not document it, meaning that we all need this. And well, I thank God I'm a part of this. Now, yes, we've had the importance of documentation, how essential it is to, our work and all that. Now, I want to bring this issue of handwriting, illegible handwriting. Well, going, telling us to run foul of the law and all that. What is the role of handwriting? Because quite a number of our doctors, sorry if, but I'm only talking by experience now. Maybe because of the number of people they are seeing and all that, workload, burnout and stuff, you don't get to really, get them by what they have written. Quite a number of people will, or oftentimes they will write and then just scribble a signature. Is it because some of us are running, to take, law stance concerning illegible handwriting? Because it's really a problem that needs to be tackled. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, can we make it very brief, please, because of time?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, thank you, our teachers. All of you have done very well. In fact, I don't feel like leaving this place today. But my question is this: it's about chaperone. I had a personal experience years back. I don't want a chaperone. I also refused to examine her. But the problem is that she actually threatened to sue, although she didn't do it. But I want to know the limit. Does she really have that right to say that she doesn't want it? She doesn't want a chaperone? When I go to do a deal or whatever, I wanted the chaplain, but she refused. In fact, I told her I was going to change the chaplain. She said, "You don't want anybody." So I didn't do it. I have a very close matron there. She's retired now, and she supported me. I didn't do it, but she threatened to sue me. But she didn't threaten. But I just want to know the limits. Does it part of the right of the patient?
Yeah, I just want to be very direct. A doctor is seeing a patient, and the patient's relative brings a phone and says, "Talk to my uncle who is so sad." If the doctor refuses to talk to a relation, somebody he has not seen, he doesn't know, how wrong is he, or is it legally binding on him to speak to somebody he has not seen? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Now, this is not an insult, but you all know the truth. Most healthcare workers don't have good handwriting. It is not deliberate that their handwriting is bad. No be their fault. Are you getting it? It is not that when we have a case of similar cirrhosis,